I had a month left until the wedding, and my fiancé's boy toy decided to send me a text. You have no idea how gentle Ms. Vance is in bed. She says she only loves me. If you know what's good for you, you'll call off the engagement and get out of the way. Then came a flood of explicit photos. In every one, my fiancé looked insatiable. My assistant stood behind me, his voice a respectful murmur. Mr. Hayes, shall I make a move on Vance Corporation? A cold smile touched my lips. You know why ancient torturers preferred death by 1,000 cuts over a simple beheading? I didn't wait for his answer, because you have to feel every single piece being carved away to truly no pain. When I first saw those messages, I trashed my office. I couldn't believe it. For years, Scarlett Vance had been the picture of devotion, a gentle kitten who catered to my every whim. That was why I'd proposed, why my family's influence had allowed the Vance Corporation to flourish. Maybe I'd spoiled her, let her get too comfortable, let her forget who gave her everything she had. I considered confronting her, taking it all back in one clean stroke. She'd undoubtedly fall to her knees, crying and begging for my forgiveness. But that would be too easy, wouldn't it? My assistant was efficient. The complete file on a boy toy was on my desk within the hour. His name was Alex Ryder. Scarlett had spent over 200 grand on him the week they met, including a $50,000 watch and a six-figure Porsche. Not a fortune, but as a welcome gift, it showed her level of interest. The kid, Alex, was an interesting case. After pocketing her gifts, he'd asked for another 100 grand. Most of that money, however, he gave to another woman, Juliana Reed, the campus queen of Seaport University and Alex's childhood sweetheart. Looking at her photo, I could see why. She was stunning, a full league above Scarlett, who was considered a classic beauty in our circles. Younger, too. There was an innocence in her clear, wide eyes that could almost make you feel guilty for thinking a single impure thought. Juliana came from nothing, raised by a single mother who'd work herself to the bone for her. They were close. To make matters worse, her mother was now seriously ill, facing a mountain of medical debt. The 80 grand Alex had given her only covered the initial treatment. The rest was an astronomical sum she could never hope to pay. Of course, Scarlett wasn't one to be played. When she found out the money she gave Alex went to a younger, more beautiful woman, she went on a rampage. Scarlett leaned on the company where Juliana was interning, and just like that, Juliana was unemployed. Then, she spread a rumor all over Seaport University that Juliana was a sugar baby. Juliana was known for being as proud as she was beautiful, having turned down countless guys throughout college. The rumor, unsubstantiated as it was, spread like wildfire. Sour grapes? Maybe, but everyone believed it. Her reputation was ruined. Under Scarlett's thumb, Alex was forced to cut ties with Juliana. It was no wonder he was messaging me now. With Juliana out of the picture, he only had one move left: secure his position by getting rid of me. I looked up at my assistant. Find Juliana Reed. Bring her to me. Scarlett had already pushed her to the edge of cliff. And the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Isn't that how it goes? Scarlett called to invite me to lunch. I accepted. She sat across from me, makeup perfect, face radiating a gentle warmth as she patiently peeled shrimp and placed them on my plate. Her smile was soft, her demeanor obedient. If her little boy toy hadn't been so impatient, so eager to force my hand, this gentle, attentive woman might very well have become my wife. I swirled the Cabernet in my glass, watching her through narrowed eyes. Scarlett, do you love me? This woman chased me for 3 years in college. She'd bring me water during basketball practice, make me a different breakfast every single morning, and engineer 100 chance encounters. When I was sick with the flu, she'd stay by my side day and night. I didn't think much of it then, but looking back, the effort was almost painfully obvious. Just like her peeling my shrimp right now. Scarlett didn't catch the sarcasm in my tone. She beamed, her eyes full of a tenderness that seemed impossible to fake. Landon, of course I love you, she purred. You know I can't live without you. You're my everything. She lifted a piece of shrimp to my lips, her cheeks flushed with a look of blissful shyness. I vaguely remember the day we got engaged. Scarlett, lying in my arms, whispering her vows. Landon, do you have any idea how much I love you? I will only love you for the rest of my life. You are my entire world. It was that Oscar-worthy performance that earned her the full backing of the Hayes family. In just 3 years, the Vance Corporation went from a small workshop to a corporation worth nearly $300 million. Now, her declaration of love was just a sick joke. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from Alex. Landon, I know you're at lunch with her, but I'm the one she loves. Bet I can have her leave you with a single phone call. He had no idea who he was messing with. He probably thought the Hayes family was just another local player on par with the Fiancées. He had no idea about the real old money dynasties that operate in the shadows, far from public view. He was playing with fire, and he didn't even know it. As usual, I ignored him. A moment later, Scarlett's phone rang. The caller ID read Alex. She shot me a guilty look. I nodded, giving her permission to answer. On the other end, Alex put on a show, pretending to discuss work. Ms. Vance, there's an urgent meeting. Everyone's waiting for you. Scarlett quickly agreed and hung up. She looked at me apologetically. Landon. Before she could finish, I cut her off with a thoughtful smile. Go on. Don't keep them waiting. My voice was gentle, my expression placid. Scarlett looked like she'd just been granted a pardon. Before leaving, she leaned in and kissed my cheek, promising over and over that she'd make up to me next time. She kept looking back as she walked away, her face a mask of guilt. The moment she was out of sight, my smile vanished. I pulled a sanitizing wipe from my pocket and scrubbed my cheek where she'd kissed me. Filth. I patiently finished my meal. Just as I was rinsing my mouth, my phone vibrated again. An address and a video. The address was for the hotel right next to the restaurant. Room 1808. The star of the video was Scarlett, my fiancée. She and Alex were energetically engaged in certain activities. The clothes and high heels she'd just been wearing were scattered across the floor. Her eyes were hazy with pleasure. Alex glanced at the camera, his expression pure triumph. He leaned close to Scarlett's ear and whispered with a smirk. Baby, who do you love most? Me, or that fiancé of yours, Landon? Scarlett's eyes were closed, lost in the moment. The words tumbled out instinctively. Of course I love you most. You're everything to me. A soft moan. Looking at his cold, dead face just kills the mood. The sounds that followed were even more graphic. I had no interest in listening further. But I didn't feel much anger. Maybe because the moment I decided to discard Scarlett, she became irrelevant to me. Or maybe I'd gone past rage and arrived at a place of absolute, chilling indifference. Alex sent the video for one reason, to get me to storm in and catch them. I'd break the engagement, and he'd be free to step into my place. But I had no interest in such a messy, undignified spectacle, and I certainly didn't need to get my own hands dirty to deal with him. I pulled out my phone and called my assistant, a dark glint in my eye. $50 million. Let the Vance Corporation know I'm not happy. My assistant acknowledged the order. The first cut. Once the Fiancés felt the pain, Alex Rider would be the first to suffer. The flesh must be carved away, piece by piece. My assistant informed me that Juliana Reed was waiting at the Crestwood estate. It was one of my properties, empty except for the cleaning staff. When I arrived, Juliana was curled into a ball on the sofa, trembling. Her hair was a mess, and her clothes were torn. Her eyes were wide with terror. I shot a cold, questioning look at my assistant. He immediately explained, Sir, when we found Miss Reed, she was being cornered by a group of thugs. We got there just in time. Otherwise, the consequences. I waved a hand, dismissing him. He bowed and left. It seemed I had underestimated Scarlett. She wasn't just trying to ruin Juliana. She was trying to destroy her. Vicious. I pulled a chair up and sat in front of her, studying her. She truly was beautiful. The kind of beauty that could topple kingdoms in another era. Her eyes, large and luminous, seemed to speak a language all their own. My direct stare made her uncomfortable. She instinctively looked down, a blush creeping up her cheeks. After a long silence, her breathing evened out. She finally spoke, her voice low. Thank you for saving me. I watched her, a flicker of interest in my eyes. Verbal thanks are meaningless. Her hands twisted the hem of her shirt. Then, how can I thank you? I gripped her chin, forcing her delicate face to look up at me. I spoke each word with deliberate precision. You'll be mine. Juliana's eyes widened in disbelief. Your mother needs treatment immediately. We can't delay any longer. I continued, my voice calm and steady. I've already had her moved to the best private hospital in Miami. You don't need to worry about the subsequent medical expenses. Juliana's breath hitched, her eyes a whirlwind of complex emotions. You know as well as I do, I went on, that her medical bills are an astronomical figure you could never pay. I gestured vaguely. The hospital is near this estate. You can visit her anytime you wish. I released her smooth, pale chin and produced a key and a black credit card. If you agree, the Crestwood estate is yours. There are $5 million on this card for your initial expenses, and I guarantee no one will ever dare to bully you again. Juliana didn't take them. A look of sudden, horrified understanding dawned on her face. Her eyes locked on mine, wide and accusatory. It was you. You spread those rumors at the university. You hired those men to attack me. Then you had your people save me. All of this was to force me into this, wasn't it? I was momentarily stunned. Of course. The star student of Seaport University, top of her class, was an idiot. I tossed a stack of photos onto the coffee table in front of her. They were all of Alex and Scarlett, in various states of intimacy. Juliana's face turned deathly pale as she looked through them, one by one. The situation instantly clicked into place. I said coolly, "The woman in those photos is my fiancée." She looked up, her eyes filled with utter disbelief. I said nothing, simply waiting for her decision. I didn't have to wait long. Biting her lip, she reached out and took the key and the card. The outcome didn't surprise me. I knew she had no other choice. I pulled her into my arms. Juliana let out a small gasp, her body stiffening as her gaze darted away, unable to meet mine. I stared down at her, my voice cold. "Don't even think about betraying me, because everything I'm giving you, I will take back doubled." This time, she didn't look away. Her large eyes met mine, and her voice was firm. "Okay." A $50 million loss sent the Vance Corporation into a tailspin. Scarlett finally panicked. She blew up my phone, but I didn't answer a single call. She came by my residence several times, only to be turned away at the gate. All she could do was send a relentless stream of texts. "Landon, what's wrong? Did I do something to upset you? I haven't seen you in days. I really miss you so much. Are you angry that I haven't been spending enough time with you? It's all my fault. I know I was wrong." It wasn't until the patriarch of the Vance family came to my door to personally apologize that I finally agreed to see Scarlett. She was kneeling outside my front door when I opened it, a glass of wine in one hand, the other wrapped around the soft, pliant body of Juliana Reed. Juliana whispered, her lips brushing my ear, "That $100,000 from Alex. I've already paid it back to him." I looked down at the tempting red lips, so close to mine, and couldn't resist any longer. I kissed her. Her response was clumsy, inexperienced. I pulled back slightly surprised. "First kiss?" I asked softly. Juliana nodded shyly, letting out a soft hom. I took another sip of wine and kissed her again, longer this time, until she was breathless. Then, holding my glass, I slowly opened the main door. The moment Scarlett saw me, she scrambled forward, grabbing at the leg of my pants. "Landon, I know I've neglected you lately. Please don't be angry, okay?" I slowly poured the entire glass of red wine over her head. Her expression turned ugly, but she didn't dare move. "Scarlett, are you still not going to tell me the truth? I must have spoiled her rotten over the years, letting her forget who gave her everything she had." I looked down at her, my voice rising unconsciously. "Who the hell do you think you are, Scarlett? Do you have any idea what you've been doing behind my back?" I stared at the woman who had sworn to love me for a lifetime, my eyes filled with undisguised disappointment. Scarlett's face was a mask of panic, but she still tried to lie through her tears. "Landon, I was wrong. I really was. It must be because I was too friendly with my assistant. It made you jealous, right? It was my fault I was out of line. I just saw that he was young and tried to help him out a little. You must have heard some gossip, didn't you? I'll fire him right now. You know I love you. I have never done anything to betray you. You have to believe me." I had lost all patience. I threw a folder of documents at her face. "You're still lying to me, Scarlett? Take a good look. This is your handiwork." She picked up the scattered papers. As she read, it was like she'd been struck by lightning. She froze, standing stock still. The documents were printouts of the text from Alex. Every page was filled with vulgar, explicit, and utterly damning words. Besides the screenshots, there were also stills from a series of graphic videos. The evidence was ironclad. There was no room for denial. "This is what you call love, Scarlett? You make me sick." Her face went ashen, and her entire body began to tremble uncontrollably. She instinctively reached for me. "Landon, I know I was wrong. I'll never do it again. I'll break it off with Alex right now, I swear. Please, don't leave me." Just then, Alex himself arrived, flanked by bodyguards. He saw Scarlett kneeling on the ground, begging me, and immediately rushed to pull her up. "Scarlett, you told me yourself you love me most. Why are you on your knees begging him? You're the damn CEO of Vance Corporation. You think you need to be afraid of him? Who the hell does Landon Hayes think he is? Call off the wedding and marry me. I swear I'll treat you right for the rest of my life." His words were cut short by the sharp, successive crack of slapping sounds. Alex was completely stunned. Scarlett was shaking with rage, her chest heaving. A smile played on my lips. This kid was truly naive. Even now, he couldn't read the situation. In our world, a mistress taking over wasn't unheard of, but one as brainless as him was a rarity. "Shut your mouth." Scarlett shrieked at him. "What are you? You're just a toy I use to pass the time. Do you really think you can compare to Landon? Alex, did you grow a death wish, provoking Landon Hayes? You're trying to get me killed. A vicious light flashed in Scarlett's eyes. Alex, I'm telling you now, if my wedding to Landon is canceled, I'll make you pay with your life. Finished. She waved her hand in disgust. As Alex stared in disbelief, the bodyguards quickly moved in and dragged him away. Scarlett's face was a cold mask as she ordered the guards. Lock him up. I'll deal with him when I get back. Her voice was utterly devoid of warmth. The color drained from Alex's face as he began to tremble. As Scarlett's assistant, he knew better than anyone how terrifying she could be when she was pushed. A mocking smile touched my lips. Scarlett turned back to me, her face instantly transforming into a pitiful, pleading mask. Landon, I know you still love me. Please, just give me one more chance. I will give you a satisfactory result. Don't be angry anymore. I swear, after we're married, I will never, ever betray you again. You know I can't live without you. I crossed my arms, my expression non-committal. With her acting skills, it was a shame Scarlett never went into Hollywood. But the game had to continue, and I would provide the hope. My tone softened considerably. Scarlett, you know I have a thing about cleanliness. I can't tolerate betrayal from someone I love. My anger won't fade that quickly. You figure out what to do. Figure out what to do meant she had to satisfy me. A fierce glint instantly appeared in Scarlett's eyes, the pitiful act vanishing without a trace. After repeatedly promising to give me a satisfactory answer, she finally got up and left. After she was gone, I called my assistant. Another 50 million. The second cut. The next time I saw Alex, the arrogance he'd shown when he provoked me was completely gone. Young people really do learn their lesson once they feel the pain. In just a few days, Scarlett had tortured him into a wreck. His body was covered in injuries. The exposed skin was split open and raw. He was completely docile now. When he saw Scarlett and me, he scrambled forward and dropped to his knees with a loud thud. Alex trembled, as meek as a quail. He kept his head bowed low, not daring to look at me. He began slamming his forehead against the floor, creating a dull, rhythmic thumping. Mr. Hayes, Ms. Vance, I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. I'll never do it again. I'm begging you. Please let me go. He sobbed, tears and the blood from his forehead dripping onto the ground. Ms. Vance, I only did it because I love you so much. I'll never dare again. At his words, Scarlett's face turned to iron. She glanced at me, and seeing my impassive expression, her own face darkened. Her eyes filled with a cold malice. The next moment, she made her move. She drove the heel of her stiletto into the back of Alex's hand and began to grind it back and forth, viciously. Alex let out a scream like a pig being slaughtered. His hand began to deform, becoming a mangled mess of flesh and blood. The way Scarlett looked at him held none of its former affection. It was replaced by cold indifference and venomous hatred. You brought this on yourself, Alex. You were nothing but a temporary amusement. To think you actually dreamed of taking over. You have a death wish. Scarlett's voice was as cold as ice shards. Let me tell you, if Landon doesn't forgive me, you can expect to be tortured by me for the rest of your life. Her words were like daggers, stabbing into his heart one by one. Alex lay on the floor, shaking uncontrollably. These past few days, Scarlett had taught him a brutal lesson about reality. She had taught him the rules of the game. Alex had naively believed that climbing into Scarlett Vance's bed would be his ticket to the top. He had no idea that in the upper echelons of society, self-interest is the only law everyone abides by. Seeing that I wouldn't even bother to spare him a glance, Alex grew desperate as I turned to leave. He knew that whether Scarlett let him go or not depended entirely on my mood. He scrambled toward me, wanting to grab my pants, but quickly retracting his bloody hands. He knocked his head on the floor, crying out, Mr. Hayes, I'm not human. It was all me. I seduced Ms. Vance. Please don't blame her. It was my fault for not knowing my place. Ms. Vance is innocent. She truly loves you. I'm begging you. I really know I was wrong. Give me one more chance. I don't want to die. Looking at Alex groveling like a dog, all traces of the arrogance he'd shown when he challenged me were gone. A smirk played on my lips as I spoke with deep meaning. Dying? What are you talking about? I'm a law-abiding citizen. Whatever Ms. Vance does to you is her business. It has nothing to do with me. Scarlett frowned and kicked Alex away. You better behave yourself, Alex. Let me tell you, the only man I will ever marry is Landon Hayes. However, if you behave and know your place from now on, I might be willing to protect your family. If Landon forgives me, I won't make things difficult for you anymore. At the mention of his family, Alex collapsed. He went limp on the floor, his eyes filled with helplessness and despair. Ms. Vance, don't worry. I promise to behave. This has nothing to do with my family. It's all my fault. You can do whatever you want to me. Even I was a little surprised. It seemed I had underestimated the depths of Scarlett's cruelty. She looked at me, seeking my approval, and whispered cautiously, Landon, see? You're the only one I love. I just had a moment of weakness and found this useless piece of trash. Don't be angry. From now on, I promise to love you with all my heart and never stray again. Alex lay on the ground, dazed and broken. I had no more interest in staying. In 2 days, it would be my birthday. As the most doted-on young master of the ancient and powerful Hayes family, my birthday was naturally a major event. My assistant respectfully inquired, Sir, will Ms. Vance be your date for the birthday celebration this year? Change it to Juliana Reed. Have her gown delivered by tomorrow. My assistant hesitated. Sir, you can't be serious, can you? Juliana was, for now, just my canary in a gilded cage. But if she attended the party as my date, it would send a powerful message. It would signify that Scarlett had fallen from grace. The Vance Corporation had already lost $100 million and was on shaky ground. If the other families got this signal, they wouldn't hesitate to kick them while they were down. It would also push Juliana squarely into the spotlight. Given her humble origins, any misstep on her part would bring shame to the Hayes family. I stared at my assistant for a long moment before saying coolly, Do I look like I'm joking? He said no more and respectfully withdrew. The birthday gala was a grand affair. All the major families in Miami were in attendance. Before we went downstairs, I carefully adjusted Juliana's couture gown. I discovered that not only was she far more beautiful than Scarlett, but her figure was also more impressive. This girl had hidden depths. I gently kissed her red lips and murmured, You look breathtaking tonight. She smiled, a flower in bloom, her expressive eyes shining like stars. After more than 2 weeks under my tutelage, she had shed her initial shyness and now carried herself with an elegant grace that rivaled any debutante from a wealthy family. She blushed slightly but smiled and kissed me back. When I led her down the grand staircase, Juliana's stunning beauty instantly captured everyone's attention. The entire ballroom fell silent for a moment. Even my parents' eyes widened. Juliana clung tightly to my arm. The slight tremor in her fingertips betrayed her nervousness, but she held her back straight, a perfectly composed smile on her face. Just then, a jarring voice cut through the silence. What's she doing here? How dare you, you slut, seducing my fiancé? After a moment of shock, Scarlett's eyes widened in disbelief. She looked completely unhinged, her gaze murderous. Juliana's face paled, and she took a slight step back. I patted her hand reassuringly, silently telling her not to be afraid. My own face was dark enough to drip poison. Scarlett, I snarled, have I been too lenient with you? Only then did Scarlett snap back to reality, her face filled with terror. She rushed forward, trying to grab my arm. Landon, I was just so worried about you. This woman comes from nothing. She's a gold digger. She uses her looks to seduce men everywhere. I was afraid you were being deceived by her. I know you're still angry. You just brought her here to spite me, right? Juliana's face was as white as a sheet, her grip on my arm painfully tight. My eyes blazed with fury. I swung my hand and slapped Scarlett across her perfectly made-up face. It wasn't a light slap. The force of it sent her staggering back. She covered her cheek in disbelief, tears welling in her eyes. A collective gasp went through the crowd of guests. She looked at me, crying. Why? You know I love you more than anyone. I'm your fiancé. She's just some girl from the sticks. How could she ever be worthy of you? I waved a hand, and my bodyguards quickly moved to pull her away. Scarlett panicked. Landon, I'm getting married soon. You can't do this to me. When she saw that I remained unmoved, she dropped to her knees with a thud. Landon, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I'll never do it again. Please, forgive me just this one time, please. Looking at Scarlett, acting like a clown, I felt not a shred of pity. If she had known this would happen, she might have acted differently. But it was too late. Still, letting her create a scene wasn't an option. The party had to go on. I nodded to my assistant. He raised his voice, clear and booming. Mr. Landon Hayes has decided to officially cancel his engagement to Ms. Scarlett Vance and terminate all cooperation with the Vance Corporation. The announcement sent a shock wave through the room. Before making the decision, I had already explained the entire situation to my parents. My father stepped forward at the perfect moment, his voice firm and final. Landon's decision represents the will of the entire Hayes family. Scarlett's face was a mask of pure despair. No, This can't be real. Landon, you can't do this to me, she wailed. I released Juliana's arm and walked over to Scarlett. I crouched down in front of her and whispered, "Things aren't necessarily over. It's just that my anger hasn't subsided yet." A strange light flickered in Scarlett's lifeless eyes. Coming to her senses, she scrambled to her feet and ran. This was the third cut. With Scarlett gone, the rest of the birthday party went smoothly. Juliana handled herself perfectly, her conduct graceful and appropriate. In this world, self-interest is king. The earlier drama was quickly forgotten, treated as a mere appetizer for the main event. A week later, I was sunbathing with Juliana by the pool at the estate. Alex came stumbling onto the property. Before he could get close, my bodyguards had him pinned to the ground. When he saw Juliana in my arms, his eyes went wide, as if he'd seen a ghost. He struggled wildly, screaming, "Juliana, how could you be with him?" At the sound of his voice, Juliana's body went rigid. She instinctively shrank closer to me. I held her tighter, looking coldly at the man pinned to the lawn, my heart filled with disgust. Alex's face was a mess of disbelief and fury. He yelled at Juliana, "You can't be with him. He's a monster, a devil." This time, Juliana didn't hide. She broke free from my embrace and stood up. She looked down at Alex on the ground, her voice firm. "No, to me, he's the kindest person in the world. He's my savior. He saved my mother. He pulled me back from the edge of the abyss. If it weren't for Landon, Scarlett would have destroyed me by now. I owe Landon a debt I can never repay." Alex shook his head, sobbing. "No, it's all a trick. He just wanted you because you're innocent and easy to manipulate." Juliana let out a bitter laugh. "Alex, do you have any idea what Scarlett did to me? She got me fired. She spread rumors to ruin my reputation at school. Then she hired a bunch of scum to assault me. If Landon hadn't stepped in, I probably wouldn't be alive right now. And all of it started because of you." Hearing Juliana's tearful accusations, Alex's face went pale. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. He couldn't refute a single thing. "Juliana, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I never meant to hurt you." Alex broke down completely, weeping. "You can be with anyone, just not him. Not Landon Hayes." His voice was thick with anguish, a desperate plea. I couldn't help but chuckle. As a man, I could see the deep love Alex had for Juliana. Was his pride hurt? A flicker of pity crossed Juliana's eyes as she looked at the broken man. But her voice remained steady. "Who I'm with is my choice. And while it's true that at first, I chose to be with him out of desperation and gratitude, now, I'm starting to fall in love with him." Alex knew Juliana's personality. Once she made up her mind, it was nearly impossible to change it. Seeing that he couldn't persuade her, he turned his anger on me. "Landon Hayes, you shameless, despicable bastard. Not only did you trick Juliana, but you went after my family." Alex lost control, his face turning beet red as he roared. "How could you go back on your word? Landon, why did you have to touch my family?" I looked at the raving man as if he were a rabid dog. I pulled Juliana down to sit gently on my lap and said calmly, "You really are a mad dog, Alex. Did you think you could have escaped from Scarlett's clutches without my help? The fact that you're standing here now, that you can even look at Juliana, is a gift for me. Use your head for a second. If I had done it, would I be letting you stand here yelling at me? You were never worth my time. Not from the very beginning. As for what happened to your family, I'm sorry. I sympathize. The news said it was an accident." Alex shrieked hysterically. "An accident? You think I believe that? They said it was faulty wiring. What a coincidence, right? And even if there was an accidental fire, how is it possible that not a single person from my family made it out alive? I'll take responsibility for my mistakes, but why did you have to go after my family? You're all demons. I'll haunt you even as a ghost." I looked at him without a shred of sympathy. First, getting involved with Scarlett was his mistake. If he hadn't provoked me, his fate might not have been so tragic. In our circles, it's common for married couples to have their own affairs. But for him to throw in my face was a pure death wish. Of course, I had also underestimated Scarlett's ruthlessness. "Alex, I've said more than enough," I stated coolly. "You were by Scarlett's side for so long. You know better than anyone what kind of person she is. The only reason you came here to confront me is that you were clinging to one last shred of hope about her. And you've already realized what your own end will be, haven't you? Scarlett has lost her mind. As the one who caused all this, what do you think she'll do to you?" I gestured for the bodyguards to release him. He didn't lash out again. After a long silence, he shot me a few venomous looks, his eyes bloodshot, and walked away. I signaled for my assistant to follow him. That evening, my assistant returned and told me what happened after Alex left. This time, Alex was smarter. He didn't rush into the Vance Corporation building to find Scarlett. Instead, He waited in the company's parking garage. After several hours, he finally saw her. Scarlett, you said you wouldn't touch my family if I behaved. Why? Alex roared. Why couldn't you just leave them alone? Scarlett was startled to see him, but since he already knew everything, she didn't bother with pleasantries. She immediately had her new assistant pin him to the ground. Alex, covered in injuries, was no match for the new guy. He struggled briefly before giving up. Scarlett looked down at him, her expression imperious. She pressed her high heel onto his head and spoke, her voice like ice. Well, Alex, since you already know, there's nothing for me to explain. That's right. I'm very sorry about what happened to your family, but this is what you owe me. From the moment you provoked Landon, there was no turning back. Do you have any idea what you made me lose? As she spoke, a sick, feverish flush appeared on her cheeks. Her face twisted, and her voice rose to a screech. Everything. I'm about to lose everything. And it's all because of you. If my life is ruined, did you really think I would let you live happily? She ground her heel harder into his head. Out of respect for our past, I'll let you have a family reunion. Choose how you want to die, and I'll grant your wish. Don't be so damn ungrateful. I've already shown you more mercy than you deserve. Hearing Scarlett admit to what she had done, the already unhinged Alex completely snapped. A single, crazed thought grew wildly, destroying every last shred of his sanity. Scarlett had to die with him. She had to pay the price. Suddenly, his rage seemed to unlock some hidden reserve of strength. He violently broke free from the new assistant's grip and shot to his feet. He pulled a small knife from his waistband and began stabbing Scarlett frantically. It all happened in a flash. By the time the new assistant reacted, Scarlett had already been stabbed more than a dozen times. She collapsed to the ground, blood pooling around her as her body convulsed violently. A few minutes later, she was still. The new assistant hastily called the police. No one noticed the slight smirk on his face. Die. Just die. You shameless bitch. You're the one who seduced me, but you pinned all the blame on me. If I can't live, then you can come to hell with me. After a fit of insane laughter, just before the police arrived, Alex took the knife and slit his own throat. Listening to my assistant's report, my expression didn't change. It was as if I were listening to a story about strangers. Only my eyes were as deep and dark as the night.